For most of modern history, Britain was the center of global economic power. It controlled trade routes across continents. Its currency dominated international markets. Its banks financed empires. Its industries powered the world. At one point, nearly a quarter of the earth was directly or indirectly influenced by British economic strength. London was not just a city, it was the financial heart of the world, and for generations this dominance seemed permanent. But history has a pattern. No economic superpower ever believes its decline has begun while it is happening. Decline rarely announces itself dramatically. It doesn't arrive with explosions or obvious collapse. It happens quietly, slowly, then all at once. And Britain may be one of the clearest examples of this pattern in modern history, because Britain did not lose power through invasion. It did not collapse through revolution. It weakened through economic decisions that looked rational at the time. And most people barely noticed it happening. The story begins with confidence. Too much confidence. After the Industrial Revolution, Britain became the workshop of the world. Its factories produced textiles, steel, ships, and machinery at scales no rival could match. Its navy secured trade routes. Its currency, the pound sterling, became the backbone of global finance. If international trade needed trust, Britain provided it. This created enormous wealth, but it also created a dangerous illusion, the illusion that dominance was permanent. History shows that this is often the beginning of decline, because success changes behavior. When nations become economically dominant, they often stop adapting. The structures that created success become sacred. Innovation slows, risk-taking fades, complacency spreads, and slowly stronger competitors emerge. That is exactly what happened. By the late 19th century, Britain faced rising industrial competition from Germany and the United States. These countries were newer, faster, more aggressive, and increasingly efficient. While Britain remained confident in old advantages, its rivals built modern industrial systems designed for scale and speed. Britain still looked powerful. But underneath the surface, the gap was narrowing. Then came the First World War. War changes everything economically. Britain entered as the world's leading creditor nation. It emerged deeply indebted. The financial foundations of empire had shifted. To maintain stability, Britain made one of the most consequential economic decisions in its modern history. It returned the pound to the gold standard at its pre-war value. This was meant to restore confidence. Instead, it damaged competitiveness. The pound became overvalued. British exports became expensive. Industry weakened further. Unemployment rose. Growth slowed. It looked disciplined. It looked responsible. But economically, it was a trap. And this is one of history's most important lessons. Economic decisions that look respectable in theory can become destructive in reality, because confidence cannot be forced by policy alone. It must reflect economic truth. Britain was trying to preserve the appearance of old power while the underlying conditions had changed. That strategy rarely works. Then came the Second World War. Victory came at extraordinary cost. Britain had won militarily. But economically, it was exhausted. Its debts had exploded. Its industrial infrastructure was strained. Its empire was beginning to fracture. And a new power had emerged: the United States. Unlike Britain, America emerged stronger from war. Its economy expanded. Its industrial base grew. Its currency became central to global finance. Economic leadership had shifted, quietly but decisively. And yet Britain did not collapse. This is what makes the story so important. Economic decline is rarely dramatic. Often it feels manageable. Normal life continues. Markets function. People adapt. But relative power erodes. And over decades that erosion compounds. Britain increasingly shifted from industrial production toward financial services. London remained globally important. Its banks stayed influential. Its institutions remained respected. This helped preserve the image of strength. But financial prestige is not the same as productive dominance. And this distinction matters enormously. Real long-term economic power depends on production, on innovation, on industrial capability, on the ability to create value beyond financial engineering. When economies become too dependent on finance alone, they often appear healthier than they are, until stress reveals the weakness underneath. This vulnerability became painfully visible during the 2008 financial crisis. Britain's banking sector had grown enormous relative to the broader economy. When global credit froze, the risks became obvious. Major institutions required intervention. Confidence was shaken. And once again Britain confronted an old historical truth. Systems built on financial complexity are often less resilient than they appear. Complexity creates efficiency during stability, but fragility during stress. And modern Britain faced another challenge: productivity stagnation. This is one of the least discussed but most powerful economic indicators, because prosperity depends on productivity growth. Without it, living standards stall. Wages struggle, investment weakens, and political pressure rises. For years, Britain's productivity growth underperformed expectations. This was not dramatic enough to dominate headlines, but historically these are exactly the kinds of slow-moving trends that reshape national power. Economic decline often hides inside boring numbers, then suddenly appears everywhere: lower growth, higher pressure, reduced flexibility, weaker resilience. And perhaps the clearest sign of all is psychological. A nation begins to manage decline instead of imagining expansion. Its politics become reactive, its debates narrow, its ambition shrinks. The future becomes something to defend against rather than build toward. This is often how economic power fades, not with collapse, but with caution, not through destruction, but through reduced imagination. Britain's story is not unique. It reflects a pattern repeated across history. Economic leadership creates confidence. Confidence creates rigidity. Rigidity slows adaptation. And eventually, more adaptive systems take the lead. The lesson is larger than Britain. Every dominant economy believes its advantages are permanent. Every system assumes its institutions are stronger than history suggests. And every period of apparent stability contains risks few people notice. That is why Britain matters. Its decline was not spectacular, it was subtle, which makes it easier to miss and easier to repeat. The real danger in economic history is rarely visible collapse. It is quiet erosion disguised as normality. By the time people recognize what has changed, the shift is often irreversible. And that is why understanding Britain matters today. Because decline does not begin when everyone sees it. It begins when almost nobody does. If this changed how you think about economic power, subscribe, because history always leaves warnings for those willing to notice them.